Alright, so this is a cool one, I think. One of the quickest ways that you can advance in your photography work and practice, and it could be all art practice, it doesn't have to be just photography, but is finding the flaws in your work. Now, usually you've probably heard other artists say the same thing. I'm my own worst critic, and that's usually the case. And for all artists, really, you're really hard on yourself. And I forget who it was that said it, but somebody was saying something along the lines of, it's an artist's job to put out work that they're mostly happy with, and the job of the audience to appreciate it. Reason being, you will never be 100% satisfied with your work. And that's okay, sometimes you'll put out work and you'll be so fixated on the little detail that realistically nobody's going to see anyways, and you're not going to enjoy the fact that you're telling this story and enjoying it with the people around you. So that said, it is important to push yourself. And if you understand that, okay, you know what, my photo is only going to be 95% perfect, that's fine. Leave that 5% and understand that there's a buffer and it won't ever be completely perfect. Now, in the pursuit of that 95% perfection, you have to be very critical and look at your image and say, okay, what sucks about it? It might be good, but you say, what is not right with this image? Are there flyaway hairs? Are there things in the background I don't like? Are the colors not right? Maybe, and it could be something that you haven't mastered yet. For example, what I was struggling with a lot at the beginning is, I don't know what to do with color. Either I have no idea where to take the color palette of a specific image, how to color grade it and what to add, or I don't know how to tweak a specific area. Maybe there's a lot of greenery in the area and I don't like it. I don't know what to do with it. And just stating those little simple things like, I don't like this, is a very, very good first step. From there you go, okay, how can I correct it? You've recognized your flaw. Now the question is how. And this is where you can start looking up at other images for inspiration. You can start looking up tutorials. You can ask your friends, etc. For me, one of the biggest things is I would look at images that I really like and see how did they do it compared to me. How's the greenery in my image versus a greenery in an image that I really like. Maybe theirs is toned down. You can start comparing them side by side. Let me try to bring my yellows down a bit. Let me try to change my greens. Let me try to blur it out because this image is more blurred out and I like how that looks. And by starting to play around with that area of your flaw, you're going to start to improve your image making process. So be critical about your image. If it sucks, admit it. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself how you can fix it, and start to work at fixing it. And do this with absolutely every image you make. Save it, finish working at it. Sometimes you have to come back to it while you're editing. Take breaks, go back to it, render it, look at the final image. Is it good? Is it not good? If it is good, if you're totally satisfied with an image and you say, wow, I think this is as good as it gets, I don't see anything else I can improve, the next step to pushing yourself is showing it to other people and saying, what do you think? And do you think anything needs to be improved? This is the place that most artists, I would say, struggle with a bit because, at least on some level, because we are very opinionated. We create art for ourselves, obviously. So people's opinions, they can start to bother us because it's like, well, it's not for you, it's for me. But at the same time, we are sharing it with other people. So the question is, what do they see that is wrong with our images and why? And you don't always have to correct your images based on what other people think. Definitely not. But it's important to be receptive to other people. It's important to take in the advice that they give you, process it, and then you can either accept or reject it. And it's totally fine to reject it, but the wise thing is accepting it because not accepting it, is processing it. Because if you have a lot of people that are telling you the same thing, you can start to think about it and say, hold on, maybe I'm a little too opinionated, and maybe there is merit to adding this in the image. You know, maybe my images are too soft, or maybe, you know, people, like, maybe a pose is just really, really weird and I'm not seeing it. You know, for example, somebody told me one time that one of my images, it was very, like, the pose seemed distorted, and I initially fought back with, well, I want funky distorted poses, I want my model to do new and unique things, and I want, but they're like, no, the body seems disproportionate, the body doesn't really match the image. So upon reading and studying and letting it churn with a bit of resentment, I might add, in the back of my mind, I started to realize that, hold on a second, I was shooting a lot of my images upwards, and that created a lot of distortion naturally. Not only that, but I was shooting with a wide angle lens, which added even more distortion. And some of my post processing might have added a little bit more. So this little upon little upon little, I was used to, because I was always looking at it. But other people, they would look at it from the very beginning, and they just be like, "Oh, that kind of stands out a little bit, and I don't like the way you approached it." So I was able to take that after churning it around in my mind a little bit, and I started to accept it and say, you know what? Instead of shooting wide angle going up all the time, I'm gonna start to keep my lens parallel to my subject, and that way I'm going to avoid a lot of distortion. I can still lower it, but it just has to be parallel to the subject. And so, yeah, basically just take the time to listen to what other people say and think about it. Even though you don't accept it right away, think about it. Maybe try the edit with what the other people say, and this is going to be another way that you're going to be able to push your work when you feel like you've been stagnant for a while and that your images aren't changing and they need a little something. So try it out, and yeah, hopefully it brings you some great images.